Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are very fortunate to welcome folks from many different countries and across several different time zones. So today I have the pleasure of introducing colleagues and friends, if I may call you both that, who are on the other side of the Atlantic as part of the European uh, EURAXESS project. So as a reminder for those members of ours who are based in the United States and Canada, my colleague Derry and I are your points of contact on behalf of EURAXESS North America. We're based here in Washington, D.C. And we're happy to be your first points of contact to connect you to colleagues, counterparts in Europe as needed, whether it's your access service centers, national portals, or individual universities or government representatives from the different countries of interest you may have. But although I'm normally very accustomed to introducing your access and what we do in the beginning of a webinar on certain funding schemes, today my two friends are relieving me of that burden because they will actually be presenting the overall your access project. So these last 3 or 4 weeks have been very interesting times. You may have heard that the European Commission and European countries themselves have been launching a Choose Europe or Choose Europe for Science initiative. And this is a campaign basically designed to attract talent, people of all nationalities from all over the world to Europe. As we've noticed in perhaps the last semester, the global research landscape has been shifting and changing, and people are looking more and more internationally to opportunities for their research career and their job development. So in that spirit, with the large number of our membership based in the United States and Canada, we're very happy to have different webinars focusing on different funding schemes and aspects of the support that the European Commission and individual European countries offer. So my colleague and I, as I said, are your North America-based contacts, but we have two very capable, very professional speakers today from FECIT and from EURAXESS Spain, who will present all of the ways that EURAXESS can help researchers at all career stages make a transition to Europe. So without further ado, Xavier Ecoute, I'm very thankful to have you again because you presented the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions postdoctoral fellowship for us just under 2 months ago. So thank you for joining us again. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and your colleague Elisa Garcia in a moment. So please take over and we'll look forward to your questions in the end. There is a Q&A box. If you have technical issues, please let us know in the chat. But other than that, I will be monitoring the Q&A the whole presentation. I think Xavi's presentation will probably anticipate and answer a lot of your own questions, so you can maybe hold off a lot of questions towards the end. But we'll do our best in the next hour to get to everything, and we'll also follow up afterwards with any pending questions. So thank you both, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Jackson, for the invitation. It's our pleasure to be here. And actually, I'm going to start speaking because I'm like that. I will probably speak a lot, just because if I get time, I just like to speak, and especially if it's about EURAXESS. But we will be doing together between Elisa and myself, and just basically, I mean, she will come in at some point, probably in the most complicated parts. She's the knowledgeable person. I'm just a noisy one. So if you would please share the presentation. We're going to go a little bit over the entire EURAXESS initiative, because it's quite common that EURAXESS, even in Europe, that EURAXESS is relatively well known for the database of job offers. But then everything that's around the initiative is maybe not so transparent. And I'm saying this, that definitely happens in Europe. It happens in Spain, for example, when we go out to speak about EURAXESS. So it's quite likely that it happens outside. And it's actually a combination and a collaboration of countries with the European Commission. So we're going to try to be as clear as possible explaining the scenarios in order for you to understand and find your way about how to make the best use of what EURAXESS offers. So with that being said, next slide, please. EURAXESS already has quite a history behind it, and actually, I mean, we have that horrible sentence, but it's done this way totally on purpose. That the idea behind EURAXESS is contributing to an open market of researchers for the creation of the European research area. I mean, market sounds kind of awful or very inhuman, if at least to me. But the thing is that, I mean, this open market has been like a key theme with the building of the European Union as a whole. So at some point, apart from, an open market of economy, common coin, and so on, the idea that science should flow freely within the European research area was at the heart of the creation of this initiative. This dates back to 2004. So as I said, I mean, long time ago, more than 20 years at this point, although at that time it was called ERA More. It was called ERA for the European Research Area and More for mobility of researchers. And then in 2008, it was rebranded and it was reboosted in order to get more countries on board. And as I said, this is an initiative which stems from the European Commission, but which is moved forward or is participated by countries and particularly by countries by what we call national networks. And on top of that, apart from the national networks in the European countries, we have our dear colleagues outside of Europe who have a huge challenge basically to foster this mobility, this collaboration, which is intrinsic to science between Europe and third regions. So next slide. Uh, what are the objectives that we have as an initiative? Well, basically, we put it this way. On one hand, we have a focus on providing visibility to European research opportunities, and basically that's to obviously researchers who are already in Europe, but also basically to researchers all around the world. Then we have the idea of providing support on the onboarding process. So once you have found a suitable position, which you will be moving to a European country, as I said, from another European country or from a third country, providing some support in the onboarding, because of course there are a number of practical issues which have to deal with international mobility that most of you in the audience have suffered at some point. And to the best of our capabilities, we try to provide help in that sense. And then most recently, thinking about the research career in a more holistic way, international mobility is obviously intrinsic to the research career, to the career of a researcher, but it doesn't make much sense by its own. So with this idea of being a bit more holistic, we realized that services would also, I mean, apart from onboarding, it's not only onboarding and arriving in the country, but it's also having a fruitful and fully developed professional life in those places. So our mandate around 2016 got extended to career development. So putting it in a summary, we try to focus on international mobility of researchers. We try to focus on professional development of researchers. So next slide. We have a number of tools, let's say, that we use in order to do this to the best of our capacities. We have what will be our EURAXESS portal, which is, let's say, the European portal, and also the national portals. The national portals are let's say, chapters of the European portal, which are dedicated and managed by the national networks. And this is important because when we talk about the services, we'll try to explain where you find each of the parts, although we try to do all our best to try to make it as easy as possible to connect everything. Then we have EURAXESS Worldwide, let's say on the international dimension, meaning international beyond Europe. And very, very important, and one thing which sometimes many users of EURAXESS forget about, and personally as EURAXESS members, we see as the strongest value that the initiative has, is the EURAXESS Services Network. And these are basically the EURAXESS centers, which are part of the national networks. And we will get back to that afterwards. And this is basically the EURAXESS people in the European countries, who are the ones who do the work. Next slide. So going, let's say, tool by tool, the first one would be, as I said, the one that's most popular, which is the jobs portal. I think the slide didn't move. Nope. Nope, not yet. At least, okay, now it's moved. But actually, you can now go to the next one. So basically, when we think about providing visibility to European research opportunities in Europe, we think about the jobs database. And there you can see some numbers, which are basically screenshots that I got from the EURAXESS portal just a couple of hours ago. So currently, there are more than 9,000 job positions being offered in the EURAXESS portal. And as you can see there, these job offers can actually be queried or searched using different criteria, different fields in order to filter. But also, you need to keep in mind that there is different levels of offers. So we talk about EURAXESS Jobs as the central database, but pass to the next slide. We have, well, as you can see there, sorry, it was the jobs funding and hosting offers. So yeah, thank you very much. So you have the jobs and funding and hosting offers. When we talk about EURAXESS Jobs, which are a majority of those positions that you see there, we're talking really about formal job offers, such as this one that you're seeing right now on the screen. So basically, it's an institution which has an open position linked to a project or temporary or whatever, and the job advertisement is basically has all the details of how to apply for this job, which are the conditions, which are the kind of requirements. And as I said, this is a position which is currently offered by the University of Bergen in the jobs database. And as you can see there, you have all the information in order to apply. What are the working conditions, how the duration of the contract, as I said, the requirements, and also the application process. This is a little bit different from the other kinds of offers that you can also find in this database. So next slide, please. You have also the funding opportunities. And the funding opportunities, you can also look for them in the database. And I'm thinking here about, for example, a national funding program that we could have. We have the predoctoral national program open, offering 1,000 positions. And basically, you can put that as an advertisement of funding. But you can understand that that itself is not a job position. So it gives you a way of actually applying for funding or maybe eventually getting a contract, but it's the advertisement of the funding. And in line with what Jackson was mentioning about this movement of Choose Europe for Science, actually the EURAXESS team within the European Commission have been working hard in this funding section, and they have been on one hand giving visibility to the European funding opportunities, which you have probably heard about in other workshops, such as the Marie Curie actions or the European Research Council. But also, as you can see there in the slide, they are mapping some relevant national funding opportunities. And again, these are separated from the job offers because it's not a formal job offer, but it's an announcement of a funding program which will be open and with the conditions of how to participate. So again, you can look for the jobs, you can look for the funding opportunities. And we have a last kind of category within the jobs database. So next slide, Elisa. Well, you have there the rest of the funding opportunities. You have what we call the hosting opportunities. And basically, hosting opportunities, the idea behind this functionality in the database is that these are opportunities to collaborate. So initially, this was contemplated as a possibility, for example, for a research team or a research organization to offer some kind of infrastructure or some kind of knowledge or some kind of expertise in order to collaborate with some other people. But the truth is that especially along the last years, it has become a very, very relevant reference, particularly for those who may be thinking of applying to the Marie Skłodowska-Curie postdoctoral fellowships. Because as you may know, in those applications, a postdoctoral fellow finds a supervisor, collaborates with a supervisor in a host institution to put together a bottom-up proposal of research and innovation. So what happens is, in the case of where we are right now, where the postdoctoral fellowship call opened just 20 days ago, we have lots of institutions offering these hosting offers, basically stating, we are a research team working on these kind of areas with this kind of expertise, and we're looking for postdoctoral researchers with this kind of expertise to present or to prepare a postdoctoral fellowship application. So again, it's easy to understand that this is different from a job position because, of course, hopefully things will run really well, and at the end of the road, there will be a job and a contract. But here, the advertisement is not a hosting offer. So next slide. This is a little bit the numbers that you can see, like the very rough numbers about what you can find in the EURAXESS jobs database, putting all together the funding, the hosting, and so on. And as of last year, from the 1st of January of 2024 to the 31st of December 2024, more than 112,000 positions were offered in EURAXESS. And as you can see there, they're strongly focused on Europe because, of course, we cannot lose sight about the fact that this is a European initiative and it's under the European Commission umbrella. But more and more, we are happy to see that actually we get more research opportunities, more job opportunities, more funding information about third regions. And for example, our colleagues from EURAXESS Worldwide have an important role to play there by giving visibility to this tool. So next slide. As I said, I mean, in terms of countries, the reality is that the majority of the positions actually are offered in Europe. But you can see there a very long list of other third countries offering positions. And I wanted to highlight this because next slide. To try to explain a little bit how the database works. And this has to do with the user profile of EURAXESS. So first and foremost, the database of all jobs, hosting, and funding is completely free. I mean, you can visit it at any point. You can browse around. You can use the filters. you can look for options and you do not need to register at all. And you can even, in the case of the job position, see what the application, and as I said, no need to be registered at any moment. But there is a possibility of actually registering as a user. And the first level would be a user, most probably as a researcher. So you have the possibility of actually creating a personal profile. And as part of that personal profile, you might provide how do you say this, a profile of your research experience. So starting from that user profile, next slide, you can do two things. On one hand, you can basically continue browsing for job opportunities, but then try to use more tailored information. So in the case of the filters, for example, you have a button which is only show me the positions which are aligned to my interest or to my profile, and then you would see, let's say, less noise when looking for. You can also plan some alerts in order to get only notifications from job advertisements which have to do with your expertise. But then also, when you create a user, you are also in the position of creating with that individual user an organization user. And that organization user is the one with which you can publish jobs, funding, and hosting opportunities. And I'm saying this because I'm assuming that among the audience today, we basically have researchers who will be looking for job positions, but maybe some of you are actually thinking that you may also offer positions yourself in order to offer research opportunities to researchers all around the world. So this is perfectly feasible for, as I said, anybody with an individual profile to create an organizational profile. So next slide. Now we go to the next tool that I would highlight related to the European research opportunities. And this would be our colleagues from EURAXESS Worldwide. Because at the end, next slide, please. From the way that we see it, I mean, thinking from the position of somebody who works in EURAXESS in a European country, the EURAXESS Worldwide team is really crucial for two things. One of them, to all those things that we publish in the EURAXESS portal, or our national funding programs and so on, if it's relevant to reach out to the regions where our EURAXESS Worldwide colleagues are working, they are key communication channels in order to give visibility to those research collaboration opportunities that we may have at national level with all of those regions. And they're also very keen the other way around, because they provide a lot of information about collaboration possibilities of our national researchers or our national science communities with the regions where they are located. And here, I don't know if Jackson wants to clarify anything or wants to correct me in any way, but that's the way that we see the value of our colleagues from the EURAXESS Worldwide chapters.
I think I have no rebuttal, Xavi. I'll just say that our work is very complementary. We have, in many ways, the same mission, but also we have different areas of expertise. So I tell researchers or people in general interested in opportunities in Europe that we want you to come to us first with your questions so that we can perhaps guide them to the right people. Maybe half the time we'll happen to have a good answer ready and be able to respond to immediately. Other times, if someone's interested in Spain in particular, they know they do ocean research, we might connect them to a EURAXESS service center that's in a major coastal city in Spain, for example, and that's where we can provide our value. And then from there, transition them to a conversation with your counterparts in those Spanish cities, let's say. So oftentimes we aren't country level experts when it comes to Europe. Or field. We don't have expertise in each individual field. But that said, we're a very useful and robust first point of contact. And of course, we're also very flexible and adaptable. So if you come to us on behalf of yourself as an individual researcher or on behalf of your institution, if you represent a university or even industry, and you wanted us to host a session on Horizon Europe or other EU funding, we're very happy to do what we can to put that together. We have the resources. Webinars are quite easy and they're free for us. So just like it was proposed to us during a recent Choose Europe initiative follow-up, people say, well, we know a lot about ERC, MSc, all these great funding schemes, but what about EURAXESS? You know, it's only presented for a few minutes in the beginning of these sessions. How about you do a longer one? And we hit the ground running and we said yes, and that's why we connected with you and you've been able to give us this expertise. So I think we're also, maybe on the flip side, we're well aware of what's happening in our region. So oftentimes, for example, you have a very good screenshot there about the Falling Walls Labs. This is run by a German nonprofit, really good sort of 3-minute thesis style pitch sessions. But these are happening all over the world. We're aware of the ones in the United States and Canada, therefore we promote it. So I think sometimes the European colleagues can look to us and think about how we can also be a pipeline to connect people looking for opportunities in Europe from our regions. So I'll leave it at that. I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I'm monitoring both the chat and the Q&A as everyone goes. So there's a lot of parallel insights happening. So please don't slow down. I'm trying to keep a lot of answers coming. So thank you very much, and I'm learning a lot from you as well.
Thank you. So right now, as I mentioned at the beginning, and now I'm going to invite Elisa to explain this part because we're not going to go away from the funding opportunities. But as I said, we have this central European database, which provides insights into very different parts. Of course, the national funding, the jobs that are published directly in there, but also it provides a window to the national scenarios and the national funding opportunities.
So now I'm going to hi, everybody. I'm Elisa Garcia, colleague of Xavi. So now I'm going to continue. Let me keep, okay, here it is. So we were basically, my colleague Xavi has explained to you very well what you can find in the EC portal regarding the first thing that you ask when you consider, moving to another country or continue to your research careers. So where are the research opportunities? Xavi has explained to you the EC portal, but now there is also another tool, the national level. And in this portal, you will not find the current opportunities, but there will be another type of information that is very relevant for you where to choose and how to find funding. Not the one is just open, but the one is maybe open in a few months, so you can plan your career with more time. So from the 43 countries that have joined the EURAXESS initiatives, from nearly all of them, you can find a national portal. So you go there, here is the URL, and then you can choose your country, basically, that you are interested in. Then what you can find in these national portals regarding where are how is the landscape of the country that you are exploring, or the funding opportunities, like I said, but in this respect, not the ones that are open, but the ones that maybe you can think of, you can gather more inside information like for what type of career stage it is for a PhD candidate, for a recent PhD, for a more senior postdoc, or for a junior group leaders. What other type of information you can find here? For example, other funding, just grants, where can you fund your research with? And also very relevant information is where can I continue my career? So where is the university or the research performing organizations? I'm very linked to this and to the whole career development the whole research landscape is also to understand how career progressions in the different countries of the EU works. And here it is in the national portals, would you be able to find this information? But for example, here we just give you the example of the Spanish national portal, and the section is called Science in Spain. In another countries, it's called Research in Serbia, Research in Austria, or Research Landscape or Funding Opportunities in Austria or Germany. So this is the type of information that this is where the sections you will find this type of information. So, for example, in the Science in Spain section of the national portal in Spain, what you can find is how the research career path works. And then here you will find words like maybe not translated, but we decided to do like that because this is the way that you could start understanding how the career in Spain works, or maybe also in terms of European level, what is an R1, an R2, an R3, things that also are very important to find in the job section, in the job portal that Xavi has explained before. What else could you find here in this section? Funding opportunities, like I said, but a map that you can plan. You can plan, say, okay, I'm about to finish my PhD. What if I'm going to Spain, what do I have? How can I fund my next position as a postdoctoral? Not only in the public sector, but also in the private sector. And the funding will come from the EU. Of course, we already have explained Maria Curie Action, but also there ERCs, but also from the national funding, in this case from Spain, and also from regionals, because also there is funding opportunities, there are funding organizations there, from the non-profits. So here it is, all in a nutshell. You can find all this information. Of course, where? Okay, I get the money, I know where to go, but now where can I continue my research? How it's only university-based research landscape, or for example, there are research performing organizations like Max Planck in Germany, or the Research Council in Spain. So here it is based on country-based information in each national portal. Many examples. So because you're going to have our colleague from North America, EURAXESS Worldwide, will send you the presentation. You can have all these links. So here it is, examples of Austria, Belgium, Serbia, Norway, Italy, Finland, Estonia, and Germany and Switzerland. We have all done this exercise to put together all of this relevant information to continue your career. So now coming back I give the floor back again to my colleague Sabi, that he's going to explain another very relevant information at the national portal that is dedicated to the onboarding.
Yeah, so I hope we have not lost you yet about these connections between the Central European portal with the job information and so on. Then you can go to the national portals to explore also more details about the national R&D and I ecosystem and so on, as Elisa was saying. And still, while keeping an eye on the national portals, let's assume that you find the position, you find a suitable way, and you're actually then moving to that country, to a given country of the member of the EURAXESS network. This is where we try to keep information in the national portals in order to facilitate the onboarding. And that's basically information relevant for onboarding. So next slide, please. If you would just ask me completely out of the blue, where can I find, for example, typical information about the visa issues for going into France right now, then I would directly send you to the European portal, because you have a very nice browser there where you, again, in a similar way as the jobs, you can actually look by country, you can look by topic of information and so on, and then you will get a list of possible replies or pieces of information relevant to the part of the onboarding that you are interested in. But if you would go into any of these sections that you can see there on the left, what would happen is that you would eventually go back to a national portal. So in this example, let's say that instead of France, we're talking about Germany, and you have some interest about insurances that you will need to have or not to have once you move to Germany. Well, basically, as I said, you can do the query. You can stay in that. You can look everything from the EURAXESS central portal, but just be aware that the information that you will be seeing from the European portal is being fed in by the EURAXESS national networks through the national portals. And I would like to highlight this because it's kind of might be a bit of a mess, let's say, from a navigating point of view. But the reason why I'm highlighting this is because, time flies and things sometimes change. And unfortunately, sometimes some pieces of information might be fully updated, or maybe something is not fully right. So in those particular cases, what you need to do is go to the national network and basically say, hey, I've seen this in your national portal. Can you confirm this or that? So that's the reason why I'm making this clarification. And next slide. Also, I wanted to highlight this because as EURAXESS, we have a common mandate, but again, we cannot do everything that's in the mandate because it's ridiculously large, and the networks are very different, and the members within the networks are very different. So that also reflects in the kind of information that you find in the national portals and related to the onboarding process. So all of us basically share like a common list of things that we are aware that are relevant for arriving, for living, and for working in our countries, and even for leaving when you're going for the next step or going back to your home country. But you might find some suitable difference, some small differences between some national portals and other national portals. And again, this is the only thing that I wanted to highlight, to mention that if there's something that's not missing, if there's something that's not completely clear, remember that there are people behind this information that's here. So you can always try and go and do the contact for the national network. And actually, Elisa will explain a little bit more how these national network sites are set up.
Yep. Let me get control. And then, so yeah, how the national network works. This is what Xavi was explaining to you. At the end of the day, these are the people behind who are feeding all this information into the portal, but not only through the coordinators, but not only that, they also provide personalized personalized assistance. And these are the centers. So already there are 679 centers, EURAXESS centers, all around the countries that are in the initiative. Some countries have more than others, but there you are. Here is the plans. And then how can you find them? But it's also the browser in the European and the EURAXESS Central Portal if you look for information and assistance. So this is the people who will assist you in personalized assistance in your moving. So please remember always there is not only information, there is personal assistance for you, because navigating sometimes entry conditions, authorization, visas, accommodation, healthcare. I can see a lot of questions in the Q&A session about equivalence of titles, required maybe to obtain a position in a certain institution. These are the people who will be able to answer you. And the power of these people is not because they are not alone, they don't have only information, it's because, yeah, well, I will come back later to this. It's because we are working in a network. So we are working in national networks where we provide information, we share practices, we share resources, we generate new resources. Like I said, this is the ones that you can find in the portals. And then we also develop new services. Every single national network has a coordinator. So we are the coordinators of the Spanish network, and we try that this information move around and reach capacity. I mean, we build capacity in our institutions and also reach the target audience that obviously is the researchers. So coming back to the services that the service centers will provide you. My colleagues already said, depending on the institutions. So basic services that you can expect from EURAXESS centers to provide you: entry, authorizations, and visas. Then administrative integration, things like local registration, taxes, contributions, registrations with Social Security, pensions, recognition of qualifications, because this is a common administrative paperwork, and usually most of the centers can provide this information. Then, of course, information on health insurance, bank account, and other services and institutional integration. Based on these services, you can imagine why we organize in national networks, because many of these things are dependent on the European country that you are thinking to move. Then we have kind of like intermediate services, like more of accommodation and education. Education usually is for family, for relatives, but also for the researchers themselves. So you can see we have two targets. It's not only researchers, but also the families, the relatives that they come with them. And then we have more advanced services, things like social cultural inclusion and dual career services. And like I said, you can find information, but also sometimes it will provide you personalized assistance. So they will personalize the information for you, but some centers, they will also help you to find, for example, an apartment in certain city where they are based in, because these services are mainly local. So they give it to their researchers. What happens if you go to an institution and if there is no service centers, or no one is answering to you, or they don't provide this information? Then you can reach the coordinator, okay? And these people will try to assist you as best they can, at least to provide information, not maybe such as personalized assistance, but definitely information. For example, all of coordinators know, for example, about the equivalence of the titles, if it's necessary to make any paperwork around PhD or not. I mean, the PhD title or not. This is one example. So we're not alone. Well, like I said, you can imagine the type of services. We are structuring ourselves in a national, country-based, but of course we are all connected. We connected different national network services. So we are like a network of networks, and we connected through mainly the BHO, the British Health Organization, so the coordinators of the national networks. And of course, we coordinate with the European Commission, and together we have meetings. And of course, we also have EU-funded projects. That usually is when we build capacities for our service centers and develop new services. Is this all what EURAXESS is doing? Well, for example, if you go to one of these EURAXESS personalized assistant, for example, you're thinking maybe to move to the region of Vizcaya in Spain, okay, the Basque Country. Then you say, okay, there is here, there are actually personalized assistant for you here, and this is the Vizcaya Talent EURAXESS Center. Then you click on it, and then you will find a description of the EURAXESS Center. You will find the location. You will have the expertise. So what is actually the assistant that they will be able to provide you? And then, of course, you will have contact information where you can directly write them, and they will be answering you. What happened in the worst case scenario, but definitely this is not the case with the Kaya Talent, that no one answers to you, then you turn into the coordinator, okay? So this is we wouldn't like to finish this presentation saying, okay, this is what EURAXESS is about, because Fabi has explained it to you. It's not only about mobility, what is out there for you, support you to move, but there is also your career development, and also EURAXESS takes care of that. The tools that we use to support career development of researchers is, again, through the EURAXESS portals, providing information and tools, but also the EURAXESS service centers. Some of them provide career development support services. So if you go to the career development section of EURAXESS, you will have clearly two different target audience in this case. One is for researchers, that is probably what is more relevant for you, but it's just to let you know that we also work with institutions to improve their career development services and create new services as well. So this is kind of under review. At the moment, we know that there's a lot of information then, and we need to curate a little bit and streamline information so this is more useful for you. But just to let you know that this information is just there and you can use it now. What kind of tools or resources you can find there? Like, for example, career orientation tools, tools that are useful for just your career decision making, your career exploration, your career planning in general. We also have career handbook for young researchers, and we also have recorded webinars and trainings, usually in what we would call transversal skills, usually never research skills, but transversal skills, and in many cases is intercultural competences, building confidence, proposal writing, and things of this nature. So in the recent year, last year we have been specifying a little bit more specialization. We became more specialized in certain topics that we know that they are very relevant for researchers to continue their career. So in this case, we are gathering together and create more specific information in the case for startups. So how to create your own startup. So more into the innovation sphere. So here you can see under the Serbian national portal at the moment, but it's planned to move into the EURAXESS central portal. This is what I said, that all these sections are in revision. There will be information about how researchers can create your own startups, so more into the realms of entrepreneurship. The same for career development, for beyond academia. So we also support the transition of academics, and researchers who are in public research performing organizations towards in industry or towards in other R&D related jobs in society. So here we create tools, we have mentoring programs, and many other EURAXESS centers are also providing training in that regard. This information, like I said, is at the moment under the national portal, actually in the Spanish one, but not in hopefully not in a long time. It will be also in the EURAXESS central portals. So what about the centers? How do they provide this? Because at the moment, what I show you is what is in the portal, whether it's in the EURAXESS central portal or whether it's in the national portal. But the service centers, I mean, the EURAXESS network is also providing you with services. Once again, depending on their capabilities. So we have basic services like technical skills training, transversal skills training, intellectual property training, career management information, basic academic career management, like where to find funding opportunities, how it works, academic career progression, and also relevant to career diversification, other type of career opportunities. They also, some of them provide intermediate services like mentoring programs, career events, career guidance, more advanced academic training, and usually this is related with project funding offices, like project writing or project funding search. Then more advanced diversification, they have alumni community, or they create career, or they sometimes participate and involve the researchers in career fairs. And of course, they also offer startup training. Advanced services would be, like I said, career fairs, and some of them are involved with companies in creating an intersectoral dialogue. Once again, this information is usually for researchers, but in the case of dual career services, they also provide this for partners. And again, level, like I explained to you, there is information in national portals, but also in many cases, or in their own websites from their institutions, but in many cases, they will also provide with personalized assistance, like career counseling and career coaching. I would like to finish this reminding you again that the core of EURAXESS is definitely, there is a lot of information in the portals, but the core of EURAXESS is the service centers. So whenever you have a question regarding, if you already know where you want to go or you have an idea, the good idea will be to ask the service centers. And remember, if they don't ask, they can reply, or they don't have the expertise to reply to you, then contact the coordinator of the network. So that would be all from our side. Now, if you want, we can turn to the Q&A session. Jackson, so what do you think?
I do have a question I want to jump right into, and I'm not sure if this will change on a country-by-country basis, or considering that probably we're talking a lot about Pillar 1 opportunities. So as a reminder to the audience, when we say Pillar 1 of Horizon Europe, so I'll take a step back. Horizon Europe is the EU's framework program for research innovation, which is always on a 7-year basis. So the current program we're in started in 2021. It runs through the end of 2027. So whenever you hear us or colleagues refer to Horizon or Horizon Europe, we're talking about that. And Pillar 1 of this wider program is, for the most part, in simplified terms, bottom-up opportunities. So you as an individual researcher are writing your own research proposal with the host institute as part of your application. And if successful, you then carry out that research. And the two main schemes that have both been referenced today are the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, or MSCA, previously called Marie Curie for short. Those are the most popular one, are postdoctoral fellowships. And then you also have European Research Council grants, or ERC grants, which are to start a lab in Europe. And the starting grants eligibility window starts at 2 years post-PhD. So someone asks, and maybe we're applying the Pillar 1 lens on this, but I'll let you interpret this as you wish. For some positions, you need to show equivalency of your degree, PhD, medical degree, et cetera, et cetera. Is it necessary to do this through an agency or a specific local country/government? I'll admit I don't have experience with this stage of the application process or the moving forward process. Can you speak to equivalency of degrees obtained in different countries?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very difficult topic. I must say, depending on the country, and the question, the answer, very quick answer, is depending on the country, the way to equivalence. But first and most important, you will need to ask again your EURAXESS center or the coordinator if it's necessary, because sometimes it's not needed. Okay, sometimes there's no need of equivalence, only with experience and maybe just a translation of the title. That would be it. So for the equivalence, as for the, depending on the country, I would say, so I can give you I don't want to give the answer, for example, for the Spanish sisters, because this is why I know. Where to find information? I can post it in the chat. It's the ENIC NARIC, is the Gateway of Recognition of Qualification. that it will give you all information about every country. But nevertheless, before going into one of these processes, it could be a long one sometimes, first ask if it's needed. Because if you're a postdoc and you are applying for an MSCA in Spain, you don't need to do this equivalence, okay? In some countries, yes. In some other countries, no, depending on the institution. So it depends on a lot of factors. So please be aware of this.
It's a complicated response, but it's easy in the sense that you should ask the EURAXESS national portal of the country you want to go to. And this also remains true even when you're applying to an overarching EU scheme like the Marie Skłodowska reactions, even though the EU is the one administering this, but what matters is the host country where you would carry out the research. Okay.
Exactly, it's the host country or the institution even. So
okay.
Always doesn't matter the kind of funding that you have. It's about the position that you're going to have in the institution and in the country. So this is the one who will set up the rules.
Okay. Thank you. I admit I may have been typing a response when this was mentioned because someone's asking for clarification on the term dual career services.
Oh yeah.
If you don't mind defining this again or elaborating.
Simple. Sometimes, many times, and depending on the career stage, researchers come with families, with partners. And in many EURAXESS centers, they provide services, especially career support, career development services for both, for the researcher itself and the spouse.
Thank you. I'll elaborate slightly on this and say one of the written answers I gave that the attendees, this is obviously being recorded. I think probably will have a majority of views eventually on YouTube and online. But for those watching live right now, if you go to the answered tab of the Q&A box, someone asked a similar question about childcare services. Is finding childcare a service provided by EURAXESS? Maybe not finding the actual childcare itself, but the idea of learning about the childcare landscape or situation in a particular country or region is something the national portals of EURAXESS offer. So I'm going to add that to the column of the 18 different topics that EURAXESS national portals tend to offer. Sometimes I've noticed that the national portals, they have the same mandate, but they choose to elaborate it in different ways. So for some countries, it might be a PDF guide that's nicely packaged. You could print it. It looks great. Other times it might be an interactive interface where you click through your specific scenario and it will sort of return some useful responses. So you can't exactly say it's apples to apples across all the 43, 45 plus portals, but they are providing sort of the same information services just with a different look. So the dual career services, thank you for also teaching me this. I'm going to mark this as answered, and I will encourage people then to go into the question where I answered, and I shared a screenshot of what these 18 different topics are, just so you can quickly skim it and get a sense. Maybe for a bit of context, Xavi, you mentioned how in the early 2000s, EURAXESS was created and it had the predecessor had a different name. It was originally created, I'll allow you to clarify or correct if I'm wrong on anything, to attract Europeans back to Europe. There was this idea, there was a lot of talent of Europeans who got their education in the United States and beyond, and therefore this is a great opportunity for them to learn that they could, quote unquote, go home. But in the decades since then, it's been a tool to attract people of all nationalities to Europe. So it's sort of really evolved, expanded. And there's also this concept now of of brain circulation, not brain drain. So I've talked a bit about the Marie Skłodowska reactions. And in the context of today, I've been talking about how people with 0 to 8 years experience post-PhD can apply to the Marie Curie and then go to Europe. But the same exists in reverse. Europeans can choose to come to the United States or Canada or the country of their choice, including elsewhere within Europe, on the same scheme. So I think this can be a nice sort of tangent to underscore the fact that the EU funding really is in both directions and for the overall purpose of talent circulations. I see some positive and yearning comments in the chat box and Q&A. So we're wishing everyone success. As I've mentioned before in the chat, maybe this is useful for those watching the recording. Right now, EURAXESS Worldwide, our colleagues are hosting a pitch session where 12 different countries, institutions within 12 different countries are basically pitching themselves, trying to attract you as a prospective applicant. So if you go in the Q&A box and the chat, you'll find the link where eventually in the next week or two, once the recording is up and the presentations are shared with me, I will upload that and you'll be able to perhaps see if you have enough time to get an application in before the, I believe, September 10th deadline this year. But then also sometimes people take longer to prepare. So you can maybe take this summer period to also consider applying for next year's rounds. Small changes happen in the work program year to year, but anything you learn now, for the most part, read the work program next year. Maybe the page limit on a specific section of the application goes up or down a page, and you need to be aware of this change. But in general, the same principles, the same core principles remain the same. So I think, Javier, I've also been pointing people to your March 31st session where you expertly presented the postdoctoral fellowship. So I'll continue to read through some of the questions here, but I'll also invite both of you, if you do have anything that I've already typed an answer to, you'd like to elaborate on. Someone asks here, I'm reading live without much prep here, but there's a specific fellowship in Austria that someone's reading about. Is the reason it doesn't show up? Is there a specific reason it doesn't show up on the portal? So I will say anything that any institution or rather position that's receiving EU funding by mandate, by a condition of receiving that funding, they have to post vacancies on the EURAXESS portal, which is why obviously it's a European Union project. It's heavily used in Europe and maybe less so, but growing in other countries in the world, like here in North America. Other than that, it's completely open. So it could be that this fellowship simply, they haven't gotten around to posting at the portal. Maybe they never will. But one thing that the EURAXESS staff within Europe are doing is they're cataloging national level schemes. So in the Q&A section, the answers tab, and in the chat, I've posted the EURAXESS portal where they have new national and regional funding. So whether or not this exists on the EURAXESS jobs portal, it's a separate section where they're basically cataloging newly launched initiatives from the countries and regions themselves. Sometimes it's not just the national government of a country, but it's an actual region, let's say the state or province or equivalent of different European countries that are launching their own funding schemes. And a small number of which I've noticed are for US-based researchers. For the most part, there's a few exceptions. Most of these opportunities are open to people of all nationalities, and a lot of them are to go to Europe. Some of them are to remain where you are. But there are a few that maybe are looking at the current landscape and realize there is a lot of talent in the US and that are looking for other opportunities, and they're hoping to that you'll consider them. So please do peruse that link. I'll share it again. Sorry for the repetition, but just to make sure everyone has their eyes on it. And this is being constantly updated. So I don't know if either of you might have a question or two you want to take a look at, or an answer I've given you want to elaborate on, but please.
No, and also to continue with that, Jackson, as we said, it's sometimes in the funding, in the database, this kind of a spirit fellowship in Austria would be in the funding, and sometimes it's not open now, so they will not post it. So then definitely now the Commission in the European Central Portal, like Jackson was saying, this is the link where you can go there. But even then, if it's not there, go to the national portal, because I'm pretty sure the Spirit Fellowship in Austria will be in the national portal of Austria. So there you have all these levels. I know it seems like very scattered information, but definitely the information will be in the national Austrian national portal. So
well, we are a complex club, the European Union, and Europe, wider Europe even more. But we try to do our housekeeping the best way possible.
Yes.
That's why we like to emphasize that the importance is in the people.
Then Ana Acevedo was asking a very relevant question. It seems, although it's not always the case, but it seems that many jobs offer or even funding offers in the database are aiming for R1 or R2, what we call the PhD candidates or postdoctoral researchers. What about more senior ones? Then she was asking, should I contact the Spanish service to get more personalized information, because it seems to be there. Definitely, this is where research landscape, where you want to go, it's useful information at the national portals. Then once you have an idea, then for more personalized system, you should contact, even the research departments that you like there in the organizations, or maybe you can point to the EURAXESS coordinators so they can provide you with some information. But definitely for start, just looking what is out there, what do I fit into an institution, searching the research landscape at the national portals.
I'll add to that as well and say that in addition to the overall EURAXESS run website that's just been updated as of the last few days, I believe end of last week, this new page launched where they're cataloging the national, because obviously it's an EU project talking for the most part about EU level funding. You can still go to the country of your choice, but a lot of the funding within Horizon Europe is administered by the European Union. But in this case, they've now seen that so many individual countries are doing, as of this month, launching a lot of national schemes, so they're therefore cataloging it. So the EURAXESS website is a central place where you can find all of this. At EURAXESS North America, we're also doing our best to catalog and archive a lot of resources that are country specific, that is sort of the same in spirit, but it goes a bit beyond the newly launched schemes. So I will say that, Elisa and Javier, with your permission, I will embed this recording on a page we've made for Spain, for example, because you lightly touch on the Spanish landscape, although the information you share, people can extrapolate and apply this to all of the European countries. So one thing I'm doing right now in the chat is sharing a page to a link to our Austria page. Someone in the Q&A box shared this. So hop on the chat section. You can take a look. And if this isn't your first webinar that you've joined, you may have heard me say this before. We're basically in a long-term soft launch page, because by the time we create and add all the resources we can find for a certain country on that page, and then we've done it for 45 plus countries, well, the very first country is out of date again, because there's so much information happening on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. So when I say soft launch phase, what I mean is we aren't cataloging this in a centralized repository. So please take a look, bookmark the Austria page, or change the URL to whatever country you want. But I don't have a sort of overarching umbrella page where all of this is listed and you just click every single country. It's more a sake of, for your internal knowledge, you can see what we're working on at any given moment. So, and Elisa, it looks like someone's reported back that you exactly nailed the question there. So they found it. Thank you so much. So I'll take a look more. I'll take a look to see if we have some more questions. But other than that, I think we'll start wrapping up. So maybe if you've had a pending question, please do share it in the chat. I think we are going webinar format, so I won't be calling on any raised hands, just in the interest of time. So please do write out your response if you're able to. And then from there, I have shared my email address. Please reach me directly with any IT-related questions so I can immediately get that to the web team. There have been some comments about how sometimes the filters don't apply, and I do apologize for this. I'll work with the IT team to, if you're able to email me screenshots, any technical description of what you do and why it doesn't work, I can promise to get that over to them, and they'll look in that. Anything else, I've shared our North America at EURAXESS.net address that comes to me and my colleague Daria. As a two-person team, we're pretty nimble, and if one of us is presenting like me right now, this is an opportunity for the other one to maybe see that email and get on it. So email us at the North America address, and one of the two of us will get back to you quite promptly. And if we ever don't, feel free to send a friendly check-in reminder to make sure we get on the case. So I see some comments of thanks. I'm just going to mark those as answered. Good luck to everyone applying to the Marie Skoda's Curie Actions or the ERC grants. Someone asked if there's room to create new partnerships between European and American universities for research funding. I think it's a very timely question, a very good question. If you happen to be representing something like a VP research office or dean or other leadership position within, in our case, a US or Canadian school, feel free to message me. Not that I can make it happen, but that I can maybe think out loud with you, make some introductions, and see independently if you want to make I'll call it bilateral, a sort of institution-to-institution agreement, that perhaps if we can be useful middlemen to make these introductions, let us know what you're looking for. And I think, I don't want to speak on your behalf, Elisa and Javier, but I think that same principle applies, that the Europe-based colleagues really are here to help connect you. I wish I said this in the opening. I want to think it's obvious, but maybe the way we present and we say this magic website has all the tools for you, maybe the way I present comes off like we're selling something and that there's a fee in the end, or that if you contact us for more information, you have to buy some packet. We are an official EU project on both sides of EURAXESS, both EURAXESS Worldwide and EURAXESS Europe. So there's never any money involved. There's never any you don't need to give us anything. Our job is to sort of help you connect more to Horizon Europe and the European countries directly. So any and all questions, even if you don't have a specific question, you just want to get some information or think out loud with us for some insight, let us know. We're really happy to do whatever we can. So I will say, take a look, everyone still here with us right now, in the answered section. If I can elaborate anything, send me an email. I think for the most part, we've answered everything. So I'm going to mark some of these as done. And unless I see a question come in right now, that's everything I've been able to address, and I don't see anything pending. I may give it to both of you to close out. And as a friendly reminder to everyone, I will process this recording tonight, get the recording from our friends, and then basically put it on the same website where you registered. So you will get a follow-up email from Zoom 24 hours from now with a link to the event page. And that can be where you'll, by then, most likely you'll have everything ready and find it. And if we haven't answered your questions or you have more follow-up, please reach us, both from EURAXESS Spain and EURAXESS North America. We'll connect you to whatever country you have interest in, whatever national contact points you want for your specific scheme or research area. Thank you very much. I hope that between the three of us and my colleague who's also joining from another trip as she's presenting EURAXESS and EU funding all the way in San Diego at NAFSA. So thank you, Daria, for joining us. I hope that the four of us have really imparted on you this idea that Europe's doors are open to you, that regardless of your research stage or your career development stage, that there are opportunities for you across the world, and that you have 45 plus countries to choose from to consider the next opportunity. And if you happen to be a later stage researcher, professor, let's say, faculty in North America or anywhere in the world interested in hosting Europeans, you can do exactly that also on this Marie Skłodowska Actions postdoctoral fellowship. So even outside of the context of mobility to Europe, there is EU funding for you to receive European postdocs. So there's plenty of opportunities here. I'll give it to my two friends and colleagues to close out. And I want to thank everyone for the active questions and comments. So Elisa, Xavier, please. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Just to complement what you were saying about the Marie Curie Actions, also to remind you that we can also make use of the EURAXESS Jobs database to offer collaboration opportunities between your own countries and European countries. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Jackson, for the opportunity, and thank you for the audience to try to, to be there. And I hope it's been useful information for you.